Hello, here's another absolute value inequality to take a look at before we get that first exam. With the inequality pointing that way, absolute value all by itself, isolated, we can guarantee that the solution will look like this if we graph it. So connected interval. And this is the easier kind, in my view, to solve algebraically. Drop the brackets. And here's what I'm doing. I'm putting the contents of the absolute value bracket in between 10 and negative 10, with the symbol pointing the same way as it was in the original exercise. And all I got to do now is get the x by itself. So I guess I would start by adding 3 everywhere. And we get negative 7 less than or equal to 4/5 x less than or equal to 13. And then to get rid of that 4/5, it would multiply every part of this, all 3 parts of it, by the reciprocal fraction 5/4. So I'm doing 5/4 times negative 7/1 less than or equal to 5/4 times 4/5x less than or equal to 5/4 times 13/1. And all I have to do now is clean this up and then write my inequality using the interval notation. I get negative 35/4 less than or equal to, that now makes 1x. That's what we want, 1x. And over here, what's that, 65/4. There's the interval version using, there's the inequality version of the answer using the interval notation. It would look like this: square bracket to indicate that the value is included in the solution set, comma, 65/4 square bracket. Okay. Next, I'm going to do the same absolute value, but with the symbol pointing in the other direction. So the difference here is the solution will look like this. It'll go from negative infinity up to a number, and it's going to be negative 35/4, and then from 65/4 to infinity. But algebraically, here's what we do. First, we solve this statement that we get when we just drop the bracket. And so I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and then I'm going to multiply by 5/4 like I did 2 minutes ago. And I get 1x greater than or equal to 65/4. That's one possibility, that x is a number either 65/4 or to the right of that, greater than that. Then the other algebraic thing we do is drop the bracket and make 2 changes over here. Change that direction and change that sign. Add 3 and then multiply by 5/4. And we have, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to write that there. X less than or equal to negative 35/4. And then using interval notation to respond to a test question, we'd say from negative infinity up to and including negative 35/4, union with, in other words, also these numbers, 65/4 up to positive infinity. Okay, and just as an aside, when we did this first part, we're assuming that the contents of the bracket is not negative, so that the absolute value didn't do anything. when we did this second part, we went with the assumption that what was in the bracket was negative. Now, if what's in the bracket is negative, if we have 4/5 x minus 3 being negative, what the absolute value bracket's going to do is reverse the sign of what's in there. In other words, if that's a negative number, the negative of the negative number will be a positive number. Oh, I messed up. There it was, the way it originally appeared. So what do we do next? We want to get rid of this minus sign, so we multiply both sides by a -1, and that gets rid of the negative sign. And since we're multiplying by a negative, we change the direction, and of course -1 times 10 is -10. So there you see how we got to this step, what the reason was for that. Hope this helps a little bit. Bye-bye.